This is my 2.3 fatigue and recovery assignment. So to begin with, we look at fatigue overall. And in summary, different types of fatigue affect different sports. This is for a number of reasons, such as intensity, duration. And the types of fatigue are categorized into three. General, which is what we feel after a event or after a training or a game, and this is the physical and psychological tiredness that we feel. So you feel like you need to sleep, that rest period afterwards, that is caused by general fatigue. The next is local fatigue, which is when localized groups of muscles are used repeatedly, so they're repeatedly needed to contract over a fairly long duration of time without without that recovery period. And then the next type of fatigue is chronic fatigue. This happens over a long period of time and is when we overtrain or maybe have a congested period of games, and the body doesn't have time to recover, which means that the immune system and the muscles become weakened, so illnesses, injuries start to take place during this type of fatigue. The causes of fatigue are the resynthesis of the ATP system, the PC system. The energy sources need to be replenished so that the body is able to use the best and the most helpful energy sources for exercise in the future. Harmful waste products produced can also be an issue. And neuromuscular function, so the body being unable to send the right messages to the fatiguing muscles in order to complete basic sporting needs. And also the core temperature, so ensuring that the core temperature is right and that thermoregulation takes place. The fatigue criteria that we'll be using during this is intensity, duration, the fuels used, the waste products, and the resynthesis of ATP and PC. Of ATP. So to begin with, we look at aerobic exercise and maximal intensity exercise, and short duration activities. These include 100-meter sprint, javelin and high jump, also all your throwing events, your jumping events and shot put. If we look at and then the energy systems used here are ATP and PC. So some will require just the ATP system like shot put, and others will need the help of the PC system for the ATP. These include such as the 100-meter sprint. The important energy sources used are the PC system and the glycogen. These are because the activity is anaerobic, so the body is unable to use oxygen as its energy source. So glycogen is having to be used obviously as the main energy source to replace this. So looking a bit more in depth at the ATP and PC system, the main fact that these fatigue so quickly and are used as our maximal intensity energy systems are the fact that there's only small amounts of them, literally grams of them. So the ATP system lasts for about 3 seconds before it loses a phosphorate and becomes ADP. This build-up of ADP will lead to the PC system being sparked into use for the remaining 7 seconds of, say a 10 seconds. If we're looking at elite athletes for a 100-meter sprint, these ATP and PC systems will then be required to be resynthesized. This will be done by lactic acid and aerobic system, which are used later on in the process if we're doing if we need them for more jumps or another set of 100 meters. The speed of depletion of the PC system and the ATP system can be seen in the graphs. The PC system runs out in a matter of seconds. The decline is straight after the near enough straight after the start of exercise, and these literally deplete to nearly nothing, and that is what is required for the recovery period. The ATP system does exactly the same. It is almost completely empty after a couple of seconds of work. So effects on performance, obviously, because the ATP system and the ATP and PC system are vitally important in ensuring that we work from it at the maximal intensity. The forces and powers created by these two systems are massive, are bigger than any other system used by our body. So the first thing noticed when fatigue does take place is the decrease in power. Obviously has a massive effect on how well an individual can perform. For say 100 meter, their time will be, if they fatigue quickly, will be greatly affected, and their if they can't optimize the use of the PC and ATP system, and shot putters, they won't be able to throw the same amount of distance. However, there is something to act as a bit of a barrier and to slow the effects and ensure that we can perform at a higher level for longer. These are creatine supplements. They work to not stop but lower the effects of fatigue when the depletion of ATP and PC takes place. And as we can see in the graph below, the group that did take the creatine supplements performed considerably better for the longer period of time than those that didn't have that creatine. Moving on to the moderate intensity and moderate duration exercises, intensities. Main energy system used here is the lactic acid system. Of course, the ATP system and PC system will be used to get the lactic acid system to originally work, but they're not the waste products that are produced by this system include carbon dioxide and lactic acid, which of course are incredibly fatiguing for the body. This is still anaerobic exercise, and this system will work for 30 seconds to 3 minutes, and is seen in 400 meter and 800 meter exercise. So looking at the RER of the lactic acid system, the RER will be higher than 1, as the VO2 being dispatched by the body is outweighing the VO2 within the body is outweighing the oxygen within the body. So a reading of more than 1 means that the body's working anaerobically and will be working using the lactic acid system. Glucose and glycogen are then forced to play an important role, as these can be found in the brain and the liver, and are being can be found in the liver, and are being used obviously when you working anaerobically. There's about 400 grams of glycogen in the body, and these will work in something called the Cori cycle, which we'll look at later, but it provides the muscles with energy when there is no oxygen to do so, so it allows us to continue to perform. This requirement is made by a build-up of lactic acid. A lactic acid accumulation will lead to acidosis, which is when the pH in the body, the blood and the body tissue will increase, and this is because of the lactic acid system producing hydrogen ions, which will denature enzymes, which means that electrical signals and messages being sent from the brain to our working muscles and our nerves will slow, and the energy, the reactions will slow, and this will mean that our muscles can no longer contract, contractions impaired, and intense exercise becomes very difficult because the hydrogen build up isn't allowing muscles to contract. So the body then has to do a process called actolysis, which is when we reduce the concentration of hydrogen ions in the blood, and this will be done by sort of respiratory ways, so we get a little bit more oxygen in there through hyperventilation, which will get rid of carbon dioxide that has built up and has made the lactic acid system become an issue for our muscles. So in order to stop this happening, and athletes will look to, in order to stop the acidosis happening, athletes will look to lactic buffering, and also will look to soda load. Which lactic buffering is when we remove lactic acid, and lactic buffering is is something the body depends on, as the body can get rid of lactic acid, but it does depend on the buffering capacity. This is when the hydrogen ions absorb this lactic acid, and one of the ways the body gets rid of lactate and lactic acid, lactate, is by creating a disposable substance, as I said there, of carbon acid. This accounts for roughly 70% of how the body gets rid of carbonic acid. Carbonic acid is further broken down into CO2 and hydrogen, which the body can then quickly dispose of. Another way that athletes are able to lessen the effects of the lactic acid system is by soda loading. This is drinking sodium bicarbonate several minutes before exercise, and is said to improve performance, as lactic acid doesn't become as much of an issue. However, there are side effects such as diarrhea, vomiting. It can not be so good for our stomach. And finally, the OBLA graph. The OBLA graph is the onset of blood lactate in the body, and a mark of about 1 millimole shows our lactate threshold, and this is where the body begins to produce lactic acid. Of course, this happens near enough straight away within exercise, and the OBLA marks around 4 millimoles. This is when the body is working completely anaerobically. And athletes will try and work